Tim Carter, AskTheBuilder.com, and guess what? They started on the Carpentry today. We're going to take a look at it and see what we think. There's a lot to talk about in this video, believe me. I already looked at it a little bit, and I got some action shots earlier, but the carpenters have left, and it's going to be a really, really interesting video, I believe. First of all, this is not my job. I'm not building this home, and if you see any mistakes or things like that, I didn't do it. Secondly, if you discover something new in the video, consider clicking that thanks text link that's under the video. What do you know, make a donation, because that revenue allows me to make more videos for you faster. Realize this, it's been almost 11 days since anything happened. It's October 10th today, and the last video was September 28th. Let's go take a look. The first thing you can see is they have started to frame in the main part of the home. And this opening right here, we'll go down and take a look at it. That's obviously going to be the front door because right here is going to be a big garage, all right? And so what we're going to look at is the basement or the underside of the first floor. Let's take a look. I want to talk a little bit about this window rough opening, all right? First of all, they put in 3 2x10 headers here. You know, count it, 1, 2, 3. Doesn't need to be 3, only needs to be 2, because this wall here is not a bearing wall. It's not like these floor joists here are bearing on top of this header. There's very, very little weight on top of that header. And it's just overkill. That should have been 2 2x10s with 2.5 inches of closed cell foam in between it. Also, they've got an extra jack stud here next to the king stud, all right? And in other words, when this opening from here over to here, if that is 6 feet or less, generally speaking, you only need 1 jack stud to support the header, all right? They've got 2, so that's a little bit of wasted lumber there, in my opinion. Then, down here at the sill, they've got a double rough sill. Same thing, more wasted lumber, because the only weight here is just the weight of the window, and it is easily supported by just 1 2x6 that's flat and the cripple studs underneath it. So I think there's some wasted lumber here. It just adds up in the long run to a little bit of unnecessary heat loss. So, you know, you may be a structural engineer, you may disagree, but I can tell you from framing for 40 years that the way I just described it, with 1 jack stud for an opening 6 feet or less, would be more than enough support for that particular header. Well, you can see the 2x6 walls, just like I talked about in the earlier video. And they've got the floor joist on for the next floor, for the first, you know, the upper floor. And what's really interesting is they've got them, the plans called for them to change directions. And so I originally thought there was going to be a big beam down the center of the house, but no, there's only 1 beam here under half of the first floor. And then what happens is they have another big long beam here that comes all the way out and goes all the way over to the foundation wall. And these floor joists here are you know, supported by that beam. Let's go take a look at how it's done, and we'll get another shot. But they've got joist hangers in here, special joist hangers made for the truss joists, and got a lot of nails in them. Looks like they got the right nails. Look like they're structural nails with big heads. You got to use the right nails. And they've got blocking in here to try to keep the joist straight. That's a good idea. And of course, the blocking is staggered. It's the only way to really do it. Notice that. Otherwise, it'd be really tough to nail it in. But they have staggered the blocking. It's not perfectly straight, but that's not the end of the world. Just a little sloppy carpentry. Here's a little problem here. So the first joist, we're going to go up and get a shot of this from above, but it's really, really close to the outer band board. Going to be pretty tough to insulate that. Really tough. We'll get a look at that in just a second. But here's something I really wanted to show you. If you remember, in an earlier video we talked about how this foundation's at a level. And these same carpenters came here and they installed, if you remember, this is an earlier video, they installed this plate and this plate And they put these shims to try to make this plate level all the way back across here. And what I was really interested to see would be, did they really plan it out and put the shims where they should? Because the shims, these shims here, should have been underneath the wall stud, but they're not. If they are, they just happen to be there by luck. Like here's one that happened to hit it just luckily. But the other ones, they don't, they're, you know, where the bearing is, there's no shims underneath it. That's kind of a big mistake. I'm up here on top looking across this floor, and this is that space that I wanted to show you how narrow it is. And, you know, this is to give you some perspective, you know, standing back from the subfloor. But imagine once this is covered with the subflooring tomorrow, how in the world do you think they're going to get insulation in here? Really a big problem. The way I used to solve this in situations like this, we would have tried to lay the flooring out so that this wouldn't happen. It also makes it really hard for the electrician or anybody else who needs to get things in here. But if we are stuck with this situation, and they may do it tomorrow, all right? I'll cut them some slack. We would put closed cell foam in here now. So I would pack this space with maybe 6 inches of closed cell foam. So a piece here, and a piece here. And glue them in so that once the subfloor's on, we know that we've got 6 inches of closed cell foam in here. So I don't know what they're going to do. We may be able to see tomorrow or the next day. But odds are I'm not going to be here when they're actually putting the subfloor on. Let's go over here and look at the staircase. All right, that spot right there, that big opening, that is going to be the stairs that are coming up and going down. And we'll probably see the stairs in a week or so. Once again, you can see more blocking here. And the blocking, this blocking keeps the floor joist, you know, from twisting like this. And it also helps transfer, like if you have a concentrated load on this particular truss joist, this blocking will help distribute the load to the joist on either side of it. In the old days, we used to put the X bracing, the cross bracing, but straight blocking like that is acceptable. It'll work as well. This is something that should really fascinate you. Here is the end of that very long beam, and I'm really kind of stunned by this construction method. They just have this temporarily supported, and you have to look at this. It's actually kind of hard to believe. So they put this 2x6 here across 4 studs, and then they nailed this small 2x6 block to keep this beam up. And they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 nails holding it. And they also, you know, they cut through the top of the top plate there, kind of a jagged cut. I'm not real happy with that. But it only takes a few minutes to put, let's go outside here and look. They should have put, you know, solid 2x6s here all the way up. And this one, it appears they cut short. In other words, they don't have it at the right height. I'm sure they may take that out, or they might put a block underneath it. But how much time would it have taken just to add the extra 3 2x6s that would have gone up and sat underneath and supported that beam? Let's hope for their safety that they do that before they put the subfloor on. It's going to be a lot of weight. There's already a lot of weight on that beam right now. It's you'd be surprised how much these truss joists weigh. You know, they've got quite a few on there. Remember that 2x6 that was in between the 2 concrete slabs? Well, now it's pretty much hidden. Not really seeing it. But they built this wall on top of it. And it's going to be really fascinating here. What's really going to be fascinating, you need to understand this. I'm still kind of mystified. Once again, I haven't seen a plan yet. I am trying to figure out how they're going to support this giant concrete slab that's going to be above us here. I mean, there's nothing here now. But I would hope that within 2 or 3 weeks that they're going to somehow put this in. And the only thing I can think, and you can see that the floor is going to be poured on top of here. So the bottom of the slab is going to be right where the top of this foundation is. So you can see that line all the way around. And they're going to have to put something somewhere, some giant metal trusses or who knows what, to support this, not only the weight of the concrete that's going to be up here above us. You know, this is all going to be concrete eventually when I go like that. But the weight of the cars, you know, and the weight of everything that's going to be in the garage. It's going to be really, really fascinating to see how they do that. I also wanted to talk a little bit about a different building practice. And I see that it's really prevalent here in the Northeast. We used to do things differently in the Midwest. But these guys framed this wall, and they did not put the sheathing on it. In other words, this wall, you have to understand, I was not here, but I guarantee you, when they framed it, this wall here was lying flat on the concrete floor inside here. Well, while it's flat, it's pretty easy to add the green zip sheathing. But the only problem is, it makes the wall much heavier when you go to lift it up. So with only 4 guys here, I have to admit it would have been a big struggle. Luckily, they do have a diagonal brace right here to keep the wall square. All right, it's really important. So that's what this 2x6 that's nailed through here is, a diagonal brace to make sure that this wall is not, I'm really exaggerating, that it's not out of square, because it needs to be square so that when you go to put the green zip sheathing on, it lines up with the center of the wall studs. All right, so I guess tomorrow they're going to sheathe it. They have that material here. It's over in the pile here. So we'll see what happens. But in the past, we would have sheathed it. But you also, once again, you have to have enough people here to be able to lift that wall. That wall would have weighed hundreds and hundreds of pounds, as long as this wall is. Day number 1 of the carpentry is in the record books, all right? It was 4 carpenters. I don't know what time they got started, but 4 people got this much work done in one day. It's not bad. Did a really pretty good job. There's just a few little things that's, you know, they're not doing finish work, but I can tell you this much. I've always said this for years. If you want to be a really good rough carpenter, and that's who did this work today, you need to be a finish carpenter first for at least 18 months, all right? Or you need to be a plumber's apprentice or an electrician's apprentice, because those people are the ones who have to deal with rough, and I mean rough, carpentry. You start to then appreciate how important it is to get things square, to get things level, etc. And this is kind of rough carpentry. It's not bad, but it's not great. All right, I'm really disturbed by the whole lack of putting shims underneath that out-of-level foundation wall. They don't have them in the right places. Maybe they'll add them tomorrow. We don't know. All right, so it's still early. Not gonna slam these guys too much, but it's all the little things that make a difference in these jobs, and the little things add up. That's all you need to realize. They add up. All right, so hopefully we'll have more tomorrow if they come back. I'm sure they will. There'll be a dance floor on. That's what we used to call it. They'll have that easily done by lunchtime, and they'll probably have some other walls up. We'll see. But there's not a lot of lumber here yet to do that, so I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if there is a pre-frame walls coming from a factory, but if they are, they're not here. But we'll know more tomorrow. All right, remember, if you discovered something new in the video, be sure to click that thanks button, that text link, that little heart love button saying you love the video. And any revenue that I generate, it allows me to keep up to date with equipment and to make more videos for you faster. I'm Tim Carter, AskTheBuilder.com.
If you want to discover more home improvement tips, go to AskTheBuilder.com.